Dudes Who Bet Sports, Dudes Who Bet Sports, it's your favorite show. Dudes Who Bet Sports, where degenerates go. Dudes Who Bet Sports, time to change your approach with Aaron Holderman and his father, the coach. Let's ride.
Well, the Associated Press is full of shit.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dudes Who Bet Sports Show. We're back for another week, Papa Dude. We've got a good subject going on this week. So before we get going, we got two shows here back to back. Do you think you can handle it?
Well, I'm going to have to, right?
That's
of course
true.
I can handle it.
You don't have an option. That is true.
No, it's fine. I'd rather them knock them out, get them over with.
I'm the same way. I hate waiting around, you know?
Yeah.
I'm up. I'm ready. Let's do it.
You gave me enough notice to where I could get prepared, get some interesting questions, and
Yep.
That's about all I'm responsible for anyway. So yeah, I had time.
Well, we've got a kind of a different show than what we usually do. We're kind of in the in-between right now. Not a ton of big racing to talk about yet. There is on Monday, but those races haven't been drawn yet. The weekend kind of all sets up for Monday, so there'll be a lot of coverage on that later on in the week. But we're going to talk a lot about kind of our betting theories on this show today. We're going to cover horse racing. We are going to cover sports as well with the betting theories and kind of the angles and the things we look at, not only from a handicapping standpoint, but from a betting and reading the board and things like that as well. So I thought it was a good week to kind of do this show. We've been wanting to do it, but it's just been busy with, we've been busy with the Triple Crown and playoffs and stuff. But I thought this was a good week to do it. I know you're kind of excited too about it.
Sure. I'm interested to see how we go on this. I'm sure you have ideas, and then I can figure it out as we go through. I know how I'm going on the sports betting. Not too sure how we're going here on the horse racing, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, and that's. I told you before we went on there. I said we're going to start with racing. It's okay if you don't have as much to say on that one. That's
well, I bet you when you get going, and I see where you want to go with this, I can chime in.
Sure. So, and by the way, as always, if you guys have comments or questions about what we're talking about, go ahead and drop them in. And this show more than most, we'll try to get to the majority of them as we go along. So, yeah, well, let's just start off with racing. I wanted to start off with racing because I do think in a lot of ways it's the most complicated puzzle of the bunch. Do you agree?
Oh God, yes. I have so many people. Just like yesterday, I went over to where I used to teach because I'm getting ready to do driver's ed starting a week from Tuesday. And I had to go over and make sure I had a classroom where the books were and all that stuff. And I had somebody come up to me and they want to get into horse racing and they wanted me to help them. And I said, there's not enough hours today left for me to help you. There's this it's so hard when somebody's going to the track for the first time and they ask you, what should I do? It's just so difficult to do because there are so many variables that a lot of us follow and some of us don't. So I think that's where we're going with this.
Well, I think the biggest thing that with my kind of theory on it and how I kind of shape everything is I try to use whether it be products or data or however you want to phrase it, I try to use stuff that the general public, the majority of them don't use. And that is becoming more and more of a problem as we go along. So, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I started using Timeform. Mm-hmm. And the big thing with Timeform was I had never even heard of it. And I've got a buddy who is certainly just way into everything that comes out data wise. And he told me, he said, you should use this Timeform. It's really good. And it still is to this day, very good. But when I first started using Timeform, the great thing about it is, like I said, I don't think a lot of the players were using it. So they could identify horses that look like, standouts that weren't getting bet like standouts. And so that was a gravy train that really rolled for a lot of years for the website. I think the problem is now the Timeform has kind of merged with DRF. It's a little bit more widely exposed. And I'm kind of in search of trying something different, Papa Dude, and trying to find a new thing that's not that well out there, not that, well publicized. And I think that's key number one to racing. You've got to find a way to identify these horses that the general public is not. And that is getting harder and harder to do. But that's always step number one. And it's kind of caught me these days okay, Timeform's got a couple of horses here that are really good. Now there's third one is just a notch below them. Take a shot with that third one sometimes, because that's the one that the public's going to ignore in races like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is hard to find something that you trust, and it's just horse race. I like Mark said it, they ask him, how do you bet the horses? And then another question I get, I want to go to the races, but I don't want to be an idiot when I get there. And I said, the first time you go, you're going to have to realize you're going to do some dumb things. I mean, the guy that I was talking to, he goes, I just don't want to get down there and not know anything. And I said, well, it takes a while before you start learning. I know the way I started getting into it a little bit was I just started following a track every day, and I would figure out who the best trainer is. You learn a lot by looking at the length of the races and all of that kind of stuff. You chart all this. And that's how I started learning it and figuring out, oh my God, there's so many things to this. But getting into theories and things, do you want to get into like what we look at the most and what we don't pay a lot of attention to? Because I think we might be a little different on a couple of things.
Yep.
You're a lot more into it as far as certain things than I am.
Yeah, I was going to transition into that next. And again, like with Timeform, for example, it's still a great tool. I mean, I think it's still the best past performance tool. However, I think a lot of people now think that, where in the past, if somebody was using DRF and somebody was using Timeform was different enough, and I thought it was better than DRF, and you had an advantage. Now, I think I'm looking, and my buddy as well, who I referenced to start the show, you're looking for new things, whether it's data, whether it's a new past performance, just a different way to look at it that the public hasn't caught on to yet. And that's the thing with handicapping with the horses, for sure. You've got to stay ahead of the game from a data standpoint on, okay, this person is looking here. The majority of people are looking here. Let's find another place where the data is pretty good and not as much of the public is looking at it, because you're going against the public. There's no way around it. Let's talk about strategy, though, as far as what you look for. And then I want to get into the actual betting. But for the handicapping purposes, what are some things that you kind of mentioned there? What are some things you look for?
Well, I've always been a trainer jockey. I lean that way first. I just do. And because I figure the best trainers are going to have the best horses. That's why they're the best trainers for the most part. And then normally the best trainer gets the best jockey. That's just kind of the way it works. So you kind of, you look at a track, and you follow that track like I do, like Oaklawn. I know who the best trainers are, and I know who the best jockeys are. Because I follow Oaklawn religiously, I know how to pick that. Now, when I venture out and go to other tracks I'm not familiar with, then I have to do a little bit more studying than I do for Oaklawn, because I'm so familiar with Steve Asmussen and most of the trainers that are there. I know their trends. I know what they do. When I go to, say, Remington, some of the same trainers are there, but there's new guys. There's new shooters there that I know, but I haven't followed them as closely. So I got to kind of get back in tune with what they've got and how they're doing and things like that. But I'm a trainer jockey guy. I have gotten more into it since I started working for you guys full time. I have gotten more into the pace of the race.
Yep.
I used to not do that much, but I've gotten into that now, and I study who's speed. How much speed is there? Who's the closers? Has this horse that's a closer has he won some races coming off the pace? Things like that. I've gotten more into that in the last few years. And I know a lot of you guys, you like to look at the race before the odds come out. Several people like to do that. I think that's a good thing to do. If you get early, say you're going on Friday and the card comes out on Monday or something, but the odds aren't out yet. Handicap that without looking at the odds, because sometimes the odds affect us,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I've heard you guys talk about this a lot. The early morning line odds are what whoever sets that line thinks the public's going to bet. It doesn't necessarily mean he thinks that's the best horse or she thinks that's the best horse. And a lot of us get confused on that. We'll look at that and see that horse is 3-1 and think, wow, I don't understand how that horse is 3-1. Well, whoever set that morning line thinks that's the way the betting public's going to bet it.
Yep.
Doesn't necessarily mean that person thinks that's the best horse. So that's another thing that I've learned over the years. If I look at a horse and I see it's 3-1, but I don't like it, I now realize, hey, look for something else. When used to, I didn't when I first started.
I think that's a very good point. All three of them. I'll break them down a little bit further. I'll start with the morning line because that's what you talked about last. And there's one just very blunt thing I'm going to say, and I don't really mean it as a criticism, but I just want the people listening to realize this. There are very few good morning line makers left out there. And again, I don't want the job. I don't want to be critical of these guys. I just want to be realistic with you when I say that. The morning lines at NYRA are going to be pretty close, right? I think you can count on that. He has a track record. David Aragona, he has a track record. He does pretty darn good. Some of these other guys, and again, I'm not going to mention names, and this isn't even a criticism. I just want to be realistic with you guys that if you look at some of this and it does come into the equation, these morning lines and some of these other tracks are just not good, period, end of discussion. We'll get to that a little bit more of that in a second. So I think that's a really good lesson that you have learned over the years. And I think other people need to take that into account. And again, at NYRA, yeah, you better look at it because that's pretty close to what it's going to be. Other places, not so much. You talked about trainer jockey. I think that's fundamental for sure. And look, even it's the simplest way to do it, but sometimes it's the best. I mean, even look at the Preakness, right? The trainer's Bob Baffert, the jockey's Johnny Velasquez. The horse isn't the favorite, but it's Bob Baffert. I mean, and it's like, yeah, I know he was like 5-2, but still, best trainer won the race, right? And if you look at it that simply, you cashed on that. There was other reasons like the horse too, obviously, but that's just it. You look at a horse like Rivet, who won earlier in the day for Steve Asmussen. And if you've tracked Asmussen's history on Preakness Day, maybe not Preakness itself, but Preakness Day, he always wins on those undercards. And there was Rivet right there, had won 2 in a row, was a good enough price. That's just simple following a trainer pattern, right?
Yeah.
And the last thing you talked about the pace and Greer mentioned this as well. Look for improved early speed. Exactly. If you get out in front, you're always going to be tough. Anytime you're a horse that you can have that early speed, you've got an advantage over the rest of that group. You ask any trainer, they'd much rather have a horse that has early speed. They hate is a strong word. They do not prefer horses that come from way out of it.
No,
they
because
just don't.
Yeah, there's too much trouble they can get in.
I was just getting ready to say a lot of them have told me the easiest path to victory is that horse has early speed. And he goes, here's the deal. If the horse is really fast and won't relax, that's a problem, but there's ways to get a horse to relax. Yeah. There is no way to make a slow horse early all of a sudden be fast early. It's not going to happen.
Right. And we're talking about early speed. I think we're talking about just a horse that can get in the top 2 or 3.
Oh, yeah. I'm not
talking about to be on the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep. Because horses coming from out of it, and again, there's pace that could happen, and a horse gets a great setup and coming from out of it and looks great. That happens a lot. We're not saying it's impossible. No. We're saying when you're looking at it, what's this horse's path to victory? Getting out in front. That's the key. Getting out towards that front end, getting themselves in a position early. It's so important that you could do that.
How many times when you watch a race, do you hear the race caller say the horse that might be second or third? He'll say the horse is in great position. He has no excuse not to win today.
Yep.
You hear that a lot, don't you? Because that horse has just cruised along there. He's not very far behind. He's running easy. He's got a perfect setup to go get that horse that's in the lead. And that race caller will go, so-and-so has no excuse today.
That is a great point. And you hear that. All of them will say that.
Because they know. They see him come from that position too many times to win.
Yep. Yep. And you know, it's so true. I didn't even think of that, but
Yeah.
Frank Miranda is one that says it the most. You know, he will say this horse is in third. He's tracking like a couple links behind the leader, or
Mhm.
maybe even closer than that, but
Mhm.
tracking in a real great position. And that's what they'll
Yeah.
say. And
Well, Vic did the same thing.
yeah, oh yeah, he did. Yeah,
Yeah,
Vic did
he was
too.
that. He just so. Let's just say radar superstar is in great position. He has no excuse not to win today. I
Yeah.
heard you say that all the
And
time.
Frank Miramati and Vic Stoffer, two guys that aren't ashamed to say that they put money through the windows as
Oh yeah.
well. And so they're calling the race. And this is not a knock on either one of these guys.
No,
It's kind of
no.
a fact. They're calling the race as they see it as a gambler a bit as well.
Yeah.
I'm not there being professional. I'm not. That's not a knock.
No,
I'm just
no.
saying the reality of it is when we're all watching these races, we all see it from a gambler's eyes, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, absolutely. And Pete Aiello, another one, just a really great race caller
Yeah.
who will do that same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anybody in the game, jockey, trainers, race callers, that early speed is definitely something to keep
Well,
an eye on.
it is. And when you're backing a horse that is a closer, how many times do you get so nervous
Yeah.
when that horse on the back stretch is 15 lengths behind? You know he's a closer, or she is a. They're closers, but you just think, well, today's not going to be the day. And that's why those trainers like those ones that can get up towards the front.
If you're betting a closer on the dirt, you damn well better be confident there's going to be pace in the race.
Yeah.
I have seen closers win on the turf before. Not that they still need pace, don't get me wrong, but sometimes closers, if they've got a real sharp turn of foot, they can still get there on the turf.
Yeah.
On the dirt, forget it. You better make sure there's pace or
Yeah.
they're in big trouble.
And I've said a million times that's what made what Zenyatta did so unique, that the horse won 19 out of 20 times and was dead last every race and somehow found a way to get through all of that. And there was a lot of them. She had terrible traffic problems, but she was good enough, fast enough to close and get there.
Yep, for
And
sure.
a lot of
And
horses can't do that.
kind of no, hardly any can do that too. Yeah. Here's Mark's comment here. That's why National Treasure seemed almost a lock last weekend to him. It made Zenyatta a freak.
Absolutely.
Exactly, because National Treasure did have that pace setup.
Yeah.
The one thing, Mark, that I am I shouldn't, I'm not mad. We had a decent Preakness day. It wasn't that big a deal, but I would have liked to got the Preakness right. The one thing I thought would happen was Mage would be kind of where Mage was in the race. I thought he would stalk the pace, and he did stalk the pace. And that's why I thought Mage would beat National Treasure. I did not think Mage could beat National Treasure if he was 10 off, but I thought he'd be 3 off. He was 3 off, and he didn't make the move. So, but listen, other than Mage, I thought National Treasure looked really good once first mission scratch. So
I did too. I just didn't think Mage, he just didn't have it.
Yeah, and I want to mention Shotty's comment. She
Exactly.
owns Red Route 1 in the fantasy league. By the way, Pop Dude, I don't know if you know, but Shotty's going to win the fantasy league unless something just.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
So Red Route 1, this was a situation. He's a dead closer. He can't do anything other than. He had no chance in the Preakness, just none when those fractions came out. Now, Joel Rosario did try to put him in the race, but as you saw, sometimes when you put a closer in the race, they kind of do what Red Route 1 did. He kind of
but it was his only choice. He had no other choice.
Yeah.
He knew that pace was too slow.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
A closer's got to have a fast pace to where those horses will tire out, and this wasn't going to happen. And so
Mark said, and this is a big key. So the pace was still slow, and absolutely it was. And this, the last comment, I think National Treasure was more rested.
Yeah.
And that made the difference because you saw Mage try to come at him there. And then when he ducked into the left, and anybody that's watched horse racing, when that horse ducked into the left,
that's it.
It was over.
Yeah.
So, Charles says this podcast is helping me greatly. Thank you guys. You bet, Charles. And
you bet. That's why we're doing it.
Yep. And we're going to keep going on this. So I've got, go ahead.
What's another thing, Aaron, that you really look at when you're handicapping? Another facet of it that you have gotten to where you use a lot. There's something else you do.
Yeah, I was gonna mention one more thing, and then we're gonna go on to the more of the betting aspect of racing. But I as a good setup, I did want to mention one more thing. So, to me, you talked about trainer jockey, and like I said, it's kind of basic or a juvenile's, that's not the right word, but just kind of a basic approach to it, but it's still something you better damn well look at. You got the pace and everything that goes in with that. I think those are the two biggest factors, without any doubt, when you're looking at a race. I used to be kind of just like, hey, this horse can run this fast and that's it. I'm looking for improving speed figures now more than ever. I'm kind of learning, don't jump on a horse just because he's ran one great figure, right? And then maybe he regressed a bit. Don't assume he's going to get down to that. I'm looking for slow improving speed figures and consistent speed figures more than just, hey, this one has had the highest one. I'm beginning to realize the more you do this, and the years and years we've done this now, yeah, a horse might pop a big number and he might be able to get back to it. But more often than not, these horses, they don't get back to that absolute top. They regress back to kind of the mean, kind of like a starting pitcher in baseball. We'll talk about this in a minute. Pitches outstanding, like 8 innings and only gave up a run. But his ERA was like 6 before he did that. That next outing, he's probably going to regress just about, back down to that normal level. So that's kind of with horse racing what I'm learning too. Let's look for consistent horses. Let's look for horses that are making small little jumps, not the big leaps in the speed figures. And also another thing I've really started to look at, let's say there's 3 horses that are exiting the same race, right? And horse A wins, but horse B and C were right there with them, maybe a length or 2 behind. I'm starting to lean towards more of horses B and C that actually got beat by that horse last time out, because the prices are so much better. And like we're kind of laying out here, there's so many factors. If horse B and C were competitive with that horse that they lost to, they might be able to come get him this time. And then you might get triple, quadruple the price. So those are 2 angles that I really look at as well.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
A question I have, the speed figures.
Mm-hmm.
Is that somebody's opinion?
I
mean, is there a national, a rule that they all go by, standards that they go by to make that, or is that somebody that just comes up and sets the speed figure as their opinion?
It's the final time of the race minus I forget what the track variance, minus the track variance, that there's an opinionated thing that they say.
Oh, there's a lot of opinion involved.
I heard it described like it's 50% facts, 50% opinion.
That's why I don't pay a damn bit of attention to the speed figures.
Well, that's why I only pay attention to Timeform, because I trust Craig from Timeform.
But what you're saying is too, though, if the speed figures are consistent, okay, that's something to look at.
Yes.
What you're saying is if it spikes, if he gets like a 95 one time and his rest of them are in the 60s and 70s, you're saying that was a freakish race.
Pretty much.
Right?
Now, I don't think you're ever going to see that kind of craziness, but 80 to 95, probably going to be more like 85 next out. Yeah. Right.
And one of the reasons that horse may go out and run like crazy, but he may be a $15,000 claimer. So whoever's doing the buyers are not going to give him the credit for how good he ran the race, right? That's why I think they're invalid.
There's a lot of theories going on right now that buyers are very inflated at certain places, and deflated, if that's a word, at other places. So, yes.
In my opinion, that, again, if you guys that are watching this, if that's something you feel strongly about, that's fine. In my opinion, there's thousands of things to analyze in a race, and you get confused if you don't watch it. This is one I don't mess with because I got too many other things I'm looking at. This one I can omit because I just think too much of it is somebody's opinion.
I agree. I think the more I go through this, the less I look at speed figures.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like they're a nice tool. They're a nice talking point.
Yeah, talking point.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see that speed figure he got? Or how about this? He won the race by 5 lengths, but the speed figure comes back bad, and everybody goes, well, he didn't run very well. Look at that speed figure.
I feel like when you think about Mage, and Forte, if he would have been in the Derby, now although Forte would have been the favorite, but he wouldn't have been like 2-1. But you look at it and you go, well, that speed figure in the Florida Derby wasn't good for those two horses. Then you look at the race and it's like, well, that looked like a good race,
Yeah.
when I watch it, it looks better than what it was. So
yeah. And and I've said it on air 100 times on Forte's race. A lot of people criticize it. I don't know very many horses that would have won that race. I don't care what the speed figure is. I've watched a lot of races and I've seen too many of them get behind like that. They don't have the courage to come up and win. And he showed me something that day. Well, maybe he can do it again. I don't know, but I don't know. Anyway,
I think it's a good point. And
you got to trust your eyes and what you see.
As you kind of noticed, we got the speed figure kind of last, and we didn't talk about look for the high ones. We talked about look for like consistency with horses.
Makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, I definitely think as I go through this, and again, I've been doing it since 2007. We've been looking at races, and probably for the last 10, 15 years, we've actually known what we were doing. Those early years, we didn't really know much. But
let me ask you this, Aaron, for people that want to get into this, I think it's a good idea to pick out 2 or 3 tracks and focus on them.
Yeah. If you're going to start, and I have to answer this question. I have to is not the right word. I do answer this question a lot. I'm using your product. How should I use it? And I always say 2 tracks.
Yeah.
Start out with 2 tracks. And then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, when it's a little lighter, maybe do 1, or if you like to do 2 a day.
Yeah.
Start there.
Because you're going to get confused if you don't.
Yeah. And I tell them, don't just look at our picks. Look at our picks. Look at the form or whatever sheet, whatever you're using, even if it's just Equibase entries, look at them. Look at the jockeys, look at the trainers.
Yeah.
Follow the track just like you would follow Major League Baseball.
Absolutely.
Say you love the Cardinals and you love the Tampa Bay Rays and you follow them every day. Same thing, but for a certain racetrack. Yeah.
That's exactly how I did it. I started with Oakland. Then I figured out, I didn't know when I got started that they ran anywhere else. So I was at the track one day. I've been there about my 3rd time. Very nice guy was there. He's sitting in front of me. He knew a lot. And I said, so what do these horses do when this is over? And he started telling me, hey, some of them go to Kentucky, some of them go to Iowa. So Iowa was closest to me where I live. So I started following Prairie Meadows. And a ton of Oakland horses went to Prairie Meadows. Mm-hmm. So when Oakland was done, I followed Prairie Meadows. And then when Prairie was done, a lot of them went to Remington in Oklahoma City. So those were the 3 tracks that got me indoctrinated into horse racing. And so anyway, so I started studying them. And another point I want to bring up, if you do that, another way you can make money, there are a lot of what I call very, very good trainers, but they don't get the elite horses.
Right.
You get to study in those trainers that aren't, they're kind of the in-betweeners. And you can win a lot of races by knowing those trainers and how they do things. And that's another thing that I've studied a lot.
Well, let's take 3. I mean, Kelly Von Hemel, obviously.
Sure.
Lynn Claberard.
Yes.
And Jean Jacot. Those are the 3.
Or you can even do Tim Martin.
Well, Tim. Do Tim Martin as well. So there's
Randy Morris, who just won the Preakness.
Okay. I mean,
yeah. So
look at us go on and on.
Yeah.
Because as you could tell, as he sits there and he's listening, these are people we know and we follow, and we know. Listen, you're going to get them wrong a lot, but we kind of have an idea of, okay, they did A for B, right? Meaning we ran them here when they didn't have a shot and they looked shitty. Now they're up here in a spot they can win. And because they looked like shit that last time, they're 3-1 instead of 3-4 or 3-5 or even money. But we know that last race was just a prep and they didn't care.
Yeah.
They care, but they did it to set up for this one. So much like how your grade 1 type trainers will use a race to set up for the bigger race, these little guys, that don't have the great horses, they're doing the same type of thing. Here's a race here to set them up for a race here that we can go win.
Yeah.
And those people do that all the time.
They do.
And at Oaklawn, those last 4 or 5 weeks, you really need to pay attention because they're
Yes.
getting them ready for the races that they actually think they can go win.
Yeah. And there's some guys that use Oaklawn as a, like you said, kind of a practice to get their horses ready to go to the next track.
Yep.
And that's what Kelly does. Kelly Von Hemmel. He gets horses.
Take my 2 horses, for example, right?
Yeah.
So we ran double numbers. He ran them for 30 at Oaklawn. It's like he has no shot, right?
Yeah.
And he ran like he had no shot. But now he's in for a 10K maiden claimer at Prairie Meadows. He's got a race under his belt. He's ready to run a much better race than if we just threw him in that 10K right away.
Yeah.
And so that's why when those 2 horses entered of mine, I told people, like, don't bet them. Like we're prepping for Prairie Meadows, a spot where we think we can win. We have a realistic shot to win.
Sure.
So that's just how it is. My very first horse I ever owned was named Atta Kid. Let's see, what year was that? That was he's on my wall here. I'm trying to what year was that? I don't remember. Anyway, it doesn't say on there. But anyway, and he ran him in a $30,000 claimer at Oaklawn, and he got 10th out of 12. And as I said, it's the first horse I ever had, and I thought, oh God, this is going to be a disaster, you know. And then I talked to him. He's like, we're going to enter him on opening day at Prairie Meadows in a $15,000 claimer. He said, I don't know if he'll win. He'll be competitive. Don't worry about it. He'll be fine. Yeah, whatever. All right. He won. Yeah. And he won, and he paid let's see, he paid $15 to win that day.
Yeah.
But again, he knows what he's doing. And that's why, again, Johnny Ortiz, Shoddy, it's another one. They know what they're doing.
They do.
They're doing the same things that you see in the heavily publicized grade 1 trainers, only they're doing it with the little horses, like the claimers or the starter allowances or whatever.
Right. That's where they make their money.
Yeah. And to a bigger degree, Ain't Life Grand. Okay.
Yeah.
A horse for Kelly. He started him in an allowance. Now, in this case, he did think Ain't Life Grand was going to run better that day, but he was awful. And I text Kelly and I said, I'm so sorry. You know, he's like, don't worry about it. He's going to get better. That was an allowance. We're targeting stakes. And there's a stakes next and he wins. And guess what? He wins at a big price.
Yeah.
These are the things we're talking about.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was probably longer than I wanted to go on that, but that was a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, this is just our local guys. You could think of other people.
It's like Dennis says, they're at every track in the country.
Randy Morris always did an outstanding job with Jonesboro. We talked about that on the live stream, Mark, and occasionally with the Stephen Foster. He took his shots, then dropped him back to a grade 3 where he belonged. Yeah. So also he won the Stephen Foster with Moonshine Mullen. A horse that beat Will Take Charge that night. In a really good race. So,
you know, I've said this many times, you know what I'm going to say. Randy Morris could be my trainer anytime because he's going to take care of your horse.
Yeah. Yep.
He does a fantastic job. They look gorgeous.
Yep.
$5,000 claimer looks like Secretariat. I mean, he's got them they're just awesome looking, aren't they? Every one of them.
Every one of them. Yep. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Last thing about racing that I wanted to throw in here.
Right.
And this is kind of a newer or new-ish trend that I'm really listen. When it comes to handicapping, you're always trying to adjust. You're always trying to do this or this, but they're usually minor little things, right? From the betting side of it, I come to the conclusion after about 6 months of following, the pools and everything. I don't know if the win bet is still the best bet in racing. I used to think the win was certainly the best bet. It's where I've made, the majority of my money over the years has been on betting wins. There is so much computer money in these pools right now. And there's so much data out there. And I think the computers are attacking these win pools. And the problem is you're not getting the prices that you used to get on the wins. And I'm really... the more I follow it, I'm really concerned. And I'm not even talking about, I thought a horse was going to be even money and it's 3 to 5. I'm talking about, I thought a horse would be 10 to 1 and it's 10 to 1 until they get to the gate and it's 4 to 1. These kind of shifts, I don't know how much longer I can keep playing a lot of wins with these kind of shifts in the pools.
Yeah, and there's no way of predicting this is going to happen, right?
Mhm.
Because he goes into the gate at 10-1. Is that what you're saying? And then when
Yes.
the simulcast money comes in from all across the country, it's down to 4-1. You have no way of knowing that's going to happen, right?
Mhm.
That drastically.
Mhm.
You might think it'll go down a little, but that's a big drop.
I couldn't disagree more with Dennis. When you look at this and you watch race after race, and like you said, that you see these dramatic drops, it's hard to take, because if you've planned out your wagers, you go, okay, I've got 8-1 on this horse, so I'm going to do X about, and we'll kind of plan from there. And you put that money in the horse is 8-1, 6-1, and they leave the gate and they're 2-1. That over the long haul,
That hurts.
that ain't gonna work. It's just that simple from a betting standpoint. Again, if you're at the track and you're going once or twice, a month, it's not that big a deal. But if you're like me and you're playing every day, that becomes a massive problem. And it may not happen to you every race, but if it happens to you half the races, that is a massive, massive problem. And I'm kind of with Shadi. I'm thinking the exacta is becoming the play, because the odds don't get messed with as much. You still might see the exacta drop, the probables drop $1 or $2, but not that often.
Yeah.
And it's not that radical. I think the exacta is becoming the best play when you're playing race by race.
Yeah.
I just worry, the longer we allow these odds to just drastically drop on a person, the harder it's going to be to bet wins. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And this comment here, exactas and doubles are the best bets right now, in my opinion. I don't think this is wrong, because the double pools and the exactas, they're not getting messed with by the computer bettors quite as much. I'll give you an example. White Beam, a horse that won on Preakness Day, was 7-2 in the morning line, which was it was just never going to happen. But the horse really only should have been about 8-5, 9-5. It just got pounded and pounded down to 4-5 and never came up from it. It's hard to plan out your day and think, okay, I'm going to get X like 2-1, and at the worst, I'll get like 7-5, and that horse is just getting pounded and pounded and pounded, because everybody's using the same data, and all these computer people have the same kind of thing, and it's just pound, pound, pound. But you could have paired him up in an exacta like Jared did in that race, and it pays a ton. Yeah. And it's just like, all I had to do was put that second place horse and get that second place horse behind the winner here. And all of a sudden I'm getting 10-1 instead of 3-5. Well, even if you miss it over the long term, A, you don't have to bet as much money. B, you don't have to hit it all that often to come out ahead in the long term. But there you go. You get 10-1, and say you use 2 horses under him, and you're in way better position. So these exacta pools are not getting messed with by the computer players, and therefore I think they're becoming the best plays. So anyway, you probably don't have a ton of thoughts on that, but that's from me studying.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I mean,
again, I'm not just throwing this out there. That's from me studying this for a while now. So
well, and you bet every day.
Yeah.
So you have more facts to back it up with, because you bet every day.
To me, and this is an old school win wagerer myself, I can't support it anymore unless we get some kind of fixed odds with the win wager pool.
Yeah.
I just, because here's the deal. When I bet the Milwaukee Brewers this morning, I got them at plus 110. Mm-hmm. I don't care what their price ends up being. I have them at plus 110.
You have them at plus 110. That's right.
Say they announce some, they announce a pitcher that's really good, let's say, and now it's minus 120. I don't care.
It's locked
I have
in.
them plus 110. So
yeah, it's locked in. Your bet is locked in.
Exactly. By the way, let's see if the Brewers have announced a pitcher. Made me think. No, they have not. All right. Anything else to add before we get into the sports portion of this?
Well, I'm looking at my parlay here.
Okay.
For baseball, and we're in the top of the sixth of the Cardinal game, 0-0. I would have bet $1 million. That wouldn't have been the score.
Yep.
And I would have lost. And in the bottom of the second, the Rays are leading Toronto 2-1. So long way to go.
Yeah, you're looking good. Toronto got a run in the first, and then Tampa got 2 in the bottom of the first. So good start there. Also, Magic played the over in that Toronto and Tampa game. They got 3 runs. He's got to get to 9. So good start there. Yeah, Cardinals started at 11:35. It's now basically 12:35. So they've played 5 innings in an hour.
Wow,
So
this is quick.
And the Cardinals only have 2 hits. And the Reds only have 3. So
wow, with those starting pitchers, that's unbelievable.
Yeah,
I think the over under was 10 or 10.5 in that game.
Yeah, the over under. I think it was 10. I think you're right.
Yeah.
It was 11 last night, I believe. So
Oh boy.
all right. Well, that's the racing portion. Let's go into the sports now. I don't think this will be quite as in depth because I don't think betting on sports is quite as in depth as horse racing. Let's start. Well, I'll kick it off.
Okay.
So here's baseball and hockey. First of all, I'm done basketball. Never again. I'm not betting basketball. Can't do it. March Madness killed me. NBA kills me. I hate it. And if you get that way, just skip a sport. There's tons of shit to bet. If you don't have to bet every sport, forget about basketball. You can talk about it. Okay, baseball and hockey. And this is a simple way of saying it. If you've ever played baseball or hockey, for that matter, you realize how funky that game can be. Anybody can beat anybody, right? Unless you're the Oakland Athletics, then you can't.
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
So my baseball and hockey theory is pretty simple. You look for the toss-up games, which is the majority of them. There's usually 5 teams that are really good, 5 teams that are bad. That middle ground's where I look, those middle teams that are basically the same. You go through and you go, okay, let's take the Marlins and the Rockies, for example.
Yeah.
Total toss. Who gives a shit? It's the Marlins and the Rockies. There's 5 people in Colorado that even care, and 2 maybe in Florida. Miami Marlins -120, Rockies +110. I don't know who's going to win this game. Take that +110 and go with it.
Yeah.
All you got to do to show a profit when you're betting these plus money games is go 500.
That's right.
And again, they're toss-ups. A lot of people look at these lines and go, "Ooh, they're the favorite. They must win." There's no difference between the Marlins and the Rockies in Colorado. No. None.
The thing I like about baseball and hockey is there's no point spread.
Yeah.
I don't bet that -1.5 +1.5. I don't. I just don't, because the money line, like you're saying, go ahead and bet the money line on a toss-up game and take the underdog. Because there's too much shit that can happen on this 1.5 stuff. Now maybe in hockey it might be a little bit. I still don't like it. So you hit the nail on the head there in baseball and hockey, and you don't have to deal with point spreads. Man, that's what makes basketball and football so hard, is the point spread. So what I like to do, and what I've been doing in baseball, and you can get some good value, and I've been doing well. I probably jinxed myself today, but a 2-team parlay in baseball, just like today, the Cardinals were -130. I felt good about them. I don't feel as good about them now, but I did. So they were decent favorites at -130. The Rays were -170. That's a solid favorite. I parlayed those, and I'm still going to get +178, which means a $100 bet's going to make me $178 profit.
Right.
And I've found in baseball, I've been doing pretty well with that. Now, you can't do it in hockey. It's much too risky in hockey. Yep. Hockey, I think, is about as hard to bet as anything.
I think it's the easiest.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, you've had success with it. I haven't, see? So,
look,
it's like I've had more success with basketball than you have.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Look, baseball it's definitely a long game, right? Like you can't, if you lose a couple days in a row, you can't get upset. It's 162 games, and you really can't hold it against teams if they lose one night. Well, I'm done with them. Don't ever do that, because these guys, it's 162 games. You know, they might get behind 4 or 5-0. It's the middle of May, and they just say the hell with it. We'll play tomorrow. You know, so you can't like ride highs and lows in baseball. Listen, hockey is the most mispriced sport there is in betting.
Yeah,
That's what
it
I've
probably
learned.
is. Mm-hmm.
Without any question. And especially when you're in these long sports. Now, football, not so much. And college basketball, college sports, not so much. When you're in these sports where they play 82 games or 162 games, a lot of times the lines are focused on those overall records.
Yeah.
Forget about that.
Yeah.
Baseball and hockey is a game of streaks.
It is.
Team can get hot. And it's like the Cardinals, right? They've been plus money. Now, they weren't today. Like you said, they weren't this whole Cincinnati series because they're terrible. But they were plus money all the time against Milwaukee, all the time against the Red Sox, all the time against the Dodgers. They were plus money all these games in these last like 12 games. And if you've been following the Cardinals, they're playing better. And then all of a sudden, plus 120, plus 112, plus 150, plus 130. Again, even if they play 500 baseball, you're making money on the Cardinals. Now, they went on a nice run, and so we made money. Pay attention to how that team is currently playing, last 5, last 10, whatever it is, and then find that team. Now, don't take them if they're minus 150 or something like that, but if you get them at plus money and they're playing well, take them. The Diamondbacks, sore subject for you. I know they lost yesterday, but I had them at plus 190 and plus 130 the 2 days before. They were plus money again yesterday. Now I know they lost. No, they weren't. They were minus 105.
It was yeah, they were favored yesterday.
But it was short. It was like
very short.
Again, they were playing well. They went on the road. They're plus money. Take them. There's no difference between the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. I mean, and there's no in baseball. Give me a break. There's not a home advantage. There's nobody at these games. I mean,
any sport like hockey and baseball. One player controls that game. It's the pitcher in baseball, and it's the goalie in hockey, and that's what makes these games toss-ups.
Yep,
We saw that in the Florida Carolina series. The goaltender for Florida was unbelievable in that series, and the goalie for Carolina played well too, but the other one stood on his head. He was unbelievable. Baseball, got a guy go out there and just is lights out. It shuts a team completely down, like the Rays or the Dodgers or somebody. Just shuts them down. They just can't hit him that day. And that's what makes those sports difficult sometimes. Another thing, I think it's like yesterday. I took the under a 9.5 in the Braves Dodgers. Okay, now I did that and it was minus 115 or minus 120. And a lot of guys won't bet that. They ain't going to bet. That ain't going to make you money. It made me $83.
Right.
I'm not turning down $83 just because I don't like the odds.
That's where you and I differ some. Now, on over-unders, I'm with you. If I love one, I'll play it because you're not going to – the over-unders, they are what they are. You're not going to get odds on them. So I get it.
But I would okay, let me back up. I was solid on that.
Right.
That's the first thing that stood out at me when I saw the baseball yesterday.
It was probably your strongest opinion yesterday.
It was the strongest opinion I had. It was minus 120. I figured, well, shit, that's my strongest opinion. I'm still going to make $83.
It's fair.
That's pretty good to me. Now, had it been minus 170, minus 180, no, I wouldn't have done it. So it was low enough. And so when I bet those like minus 110s, minus 115s, it's got to be, I won't bet them unless I'm really sold on it. I really feel like that's going to happen, like I did with Arizona yesterday because they had the pitching matchup. And for 99.9% of that game, I had it.
Yep.
And anyway, I think some people are afraid to bet those minuses. You know what? If you got a solid opinion like I did on that over-under, and I was pretty solid on the Diamondbacks too, I would have made, had that Diamondback game came in, I'd made $90 there, 83 there. That's $173.
Yep.
That if I had this just in my head, I ain't betting minuses, no way. It's $173 I wouldn't have got. So I know that's just a difference in what people think, And on parlays, here's another thing. A lot of people won't bet two solid favorites in a parlay. You still are going to get plus money.
Right.
You still get that.
Yeah.
Whereas you bet two underdogs in a parlay, you might get one of them, but it's going to be hard to get both of them home.
I think you said it. I don't like it in hockey at all. Because I think the parlay. Yeah.
Oh, they're too hard. Yeah.
I think in hockey, the variance is so great. You just bet underdogs. And I don't sit there and bet every single underdog. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you look at the board, you pick you out two or three that you really like. And you got to study it. I'm not saying just randomly pick it, but you study it and you go, here's two or three. You play those underdogs. Do not play favorites in hockey very often unless it's what Papa Dude was describing. It's just jumping out and hitting you right in the face. Then it's okay. But you take, and why I say I think hockey is just terribly mispriced all the time. You take the Florida Panthers, for example. They beat the Boston Bruins in 7 games. They won 3 games in Boston. They beat the best team ever in the history of the NHL, regular season-wise, record-wise.
3 times on their home ice.
Beat them 3 times on their home ice. They're an underdog all 5 games against Toronto.
Yes.
Because they're looking, hey, they're the 8th seed.
That's right.
Hey, look they only had 93 points.
Same thing is happening with the Heat.
The Heat are the same way. And you look at this and you go, they just beat the best team in the league. What if Boston was playing Toronto? They would be huge favorites every time.
Sure.
But now it's Florida, but Florida just beat Boston
3 times in Boston.
They were underdogs 3 of the 4 games against Carolina.
Absolutely.
And they were only favored last night by a smidge.
Yeah. And they were
this is what I'm talking about. If you go the extra mark, you don't just look at overall records. Don't look, well, this is an 8 and this is a 1. Look how the team's been playing their last 5, 10, 15. Look at who they've been beating. You can find underdogs. That's how you do it, right?
Yeah.
You don't look at it and go, I'll just take it because it's on my screen right now. The Blue Jays are 26-24. The Rays are 36-15. No way the Blue Jays can beat the Rays. No, dig into it.
Yeah.
And if the Blue Jays are plus 130 and you think they got a shot, take
them.
It's that simple.
Yeah. And the thing, there's just no way that tonight in the hockey game tonight, Dallas is minus 115, I think.
Yep.
They're down 3 games to none.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're at home, but it doesn't mean anything. They got to be 5-0, the other 4-0 at home on Tuesday night. Take Vegas tonight if you want to bet that game.
You either take Vegas or you don't play.
Yeah, that's right.
You really like Dallas tonight.
Unless you love them tonight.
Even if you love them, that line is not correct.
No, it should be the other way around.
It should be. That's the thing. It's like I kind of like Dallas tonight. I do. I think they're going to.
I do too. They've got a shot.
There's a difference between I kind of like Dallas. I think they're going to win, and I'm going to bet them.
Okay.
Because it's 2 things. Who do you like? What are their price? And
well, you just hit the nail on the head. I was trying to say about me betting the minus 115.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of like Dallas tonight. I'm not sold on them.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to bet. I would never bet that tonight because
mm-hmm.
it's not worth it. It's not worth losing that game because really, if you got eyes and you saw the game Tuesday night, there's no way you can bet Dallas tonight. Even though you kind of think they may bounce back, they look like shit.
Here's
Tuesday
the deal. There's so many things on the board to play.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need to play a game where I kind of like it and I'm not getting the odds, but I'm going to play it. No, there's so much out there that you can do.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. If Dallas was plus 120 tonight, I would take them.
Would you?
I would because
if they were plus. Okay,
plus
I got
120. Plus 120. I'd take them.
Would you take them if they were even money? I don't think I would.
You're getting to where it's probably not. No, they probably have to have a plus. It'd have to be plus 120 or so.
Yeah.
And again, it's twofold in sports. you kind of look at the games like, okay, I like them, and then you look at their prices, and then you just, you narrow it down. But again, there's so much, and it's every day. There's something to do, guys. I mean, you don't have to force it. I think that last sentence was the biggest lesson I had to learn when we started doing this. You don't have to bet 6 a day, right? You just be patient. Some days there might be 5 games. You love them. You bet them all. It's fun.
Yeah.
Some days there's 1. And that's the thing that I've had to learn. It's like today, there's a couple I liked here or there, but it didn't quite work out. So I just said, all right, Milwaukee, we'll take Milwaukee here. I think they're going to win, and they're plus 110. So I think I like them a little bit. The price is right. Let's go. And like I said, Dallas was one I almost did. And it's like, the price just isn't right. Just be patient with it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Just be patient with it. Sports betting's not going anywhere. It's going to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So
I have more trouble with the NFL.
Yeah, let's talk NFL.
Than anything. That's the one that I struggle with. Well, let me rephrase that. My percentage is okay. I hit about 65%. That's just winners. But when I start figuring in the point spread, then it goes way down.
Right.
I don't know why, but I don't have a good feel for that. I just don't. Now, college football, I do very well, and I do very well on college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I have a feel for that. But the pro football is tough for me. There's too many variables in that. It's really hard.
So you want to know the biggest lesson I learned last year about pro football? And you mentioned it. You mentioned you got to worry about point spreads.
Yeah.
Not when you're betting underdogs. That's what I learned. Forget about the point spreads. Bet money line underdogs. I finally got traction middle of last year through the Super Bowl doing that. Because you could find it. All they have to do is win. You're getting a price. Right. And once again, I keep saying it. If you go 500 betting favorites, you're a loser. If you go 500 betting underdogs, you're a winner.
So did you bet? I was checking on my ball game here. The Cardinals they just got out of a first and third, nobody out.
Yes.
So did you say you just bet? Let's say you're the Bucks are playing the Saints, and the Saints are 3-point underdogs. Do you bet +3?
Nope.
You just bet them to win.
Saints plus the money. Yep.
Okay.
Super Bowl, Chiefs were the underdogs. How? I don't know. Bet the plus money.
No question.
Cincinnati, big underdog when they played Buffalo. Bet Cincinnati. Just bet the underdogs. And if you like the favorite, stay away from it because I'm not laying points ever again in the NFL. Ever.
Yeah.
I'm just not doing it. It is so hard to win a game in the NFL. Yeah. I'm not laying points with it again.
Shotty says she can't bet the Razorbacks. Well, that's your team, Shotty. Never bet your team.
Betting your team's tough. You better have a realistic outlook on it.
Well, never bet them if you think, okay, let's say they're 5-point underdogs and you bet them to lose, not to cover the 5.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to sit there and you're not going to be happy one way or the other.
Yep.
Don't do that. If you don't think they're going to win, don't bet them.
Well, and here's the deal. And I'll say it again. If you're looking at Razorbacks or OU for us, there are like 100 games on Saturday.
I can't enjoy it.
Bet something else. I mean, just bet something else. Bet a different team.
I can't enjoy the game because I'm sitting there worrying about the bet, and that's ridiculous. I go to the game to enjoy it.
There are certain coaches or teams that I despise in college football. And I think college football, I've been weak on the last couple of years. And I think I'm too close to it is why.
Probably.
NFL, I don't have any problem with anybody. So I don't really have a favorite team. And it's just like, like I said, underdogs, money line. That's my thing right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it works. It worked the last part of the season or the last half of the season in the playoffs. But now we got coming up first part of the season.
I think, and again, it's your theory. It's whatever your theory is.
Yeah. By the way, I'm not saying I'm doing the only thing that you should do.
Absolutely.
This works for me. But
this is just what we like to do.
Yeah.
I think some people though go for the big score, and they don't get it. They miss too many. When if you'll just go for the smaller one, I like to get them right. I don't like to go and I miss 3. Say I bet 3 today, and I bet 3 big scores, where I was going to win some money, but I missed every one of them.
Yeah.
And then I bet tomorrow and I missed 2 more. And then let's say the third day I hit one. I don't like that.
So Dr. Tang is probably one of, if not the best sports bettor that I know. Well, him and Somich. And I talked to Doc about sports 24/7. I mean, I've picked his brain for hours before. And Doc said a real good thing that kind of coincides with what you're saying. He's like, I'll bet a parlay for sure. But he said, I also am betting them individually as well. Because if you bet parlays every single night, that's a sure way to lose.
Yeah.
Like you might hit a great parlay, but over time, you're not going to hit them all that often.
No, not all of them.
So, you might play a parlay for a low amount, but
then
then you
everybody's
bet
got
the
their
games
own-
individually for higher amounts.
Right. Everybody's got their own little system, their own little strategy.
Yep.
And I like to get them right. I don't, I don't want to bet. Okay, I say I bet 3 and I get one of them right and I make, I don't know, $50. I'm still pissed off because I missed the other 2.
Yeah. Well, it's like yesterday. You talked about the loser yesterday more than the 2 winners, right?
Oh, listen, when I lost that one, that was the first bet of the day. I thought I'm going on 3 tonight
Well, we talked about the Diamondbacks yesterday. By the way, we don't ever think that we just get on these shows and make picks between Somich and Doc and you and I.
Oh, God.
It's constant. So anyway, we talked about the Diamondbacks, 10, 15 minutes yesterday. And, I said, hey, I've watched them because I bet them the last 2 nights, not yesterday, but the 2 nights before. I said, man, they're a good team and they've got a really good pitcher going. And it was they're up 5-0. That pitcher we talked about pitched great.
They took him out.
They took him out and they give up, but they were 1 strike away from a win and gave up a 2-run homer in the bottom of the ninth.
Bottom of the ninth.
And that's
that tied the game.
You look back though, and it's like that. So this will be our last point on this. Kind of tie it back to what I said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You look back, and it's real easy to get pissed at the Diamondbacks. They suck. I'm never playing them again. Don't ever do that because it just happens, right? It's sports. They certainly didn't want to lose the game that way.
No,
like you didn't want to lose the game that way. Yeah.
I'll tell you a little funny thing though. I mentioned on something here a while back. I'm keeping track of how I do with each team.
Mm-hmm.
The Diamondbacks, I do the worst, and there I went and bet on them yesterday. Oh God, I'm 14-29 on the season on the Diamondbacks.
So have you been picking against them a lot?
When I pick them, they lose.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. I can't get a feel for them, even though they're really playing well.
Yeah,
I just can't get a feel for them. They're the worst team for me right now. What I do yesterday, I bet them. And look what it did.
But your handicap was right. It just
I just missed it, and that happens. So
you didn't
anyway,
says Jared and Magic outside the window and us because I forget to mention them. So I text Magic about wrestling, and about the CFL, and a little hockey. So there's that. Jared, it's horse racing and in football. Football, you can text Jared. The rest of this, you're not going to get much from it.
No, he's Chiefs all the way.
NFL, football, and horse racing. That's all you could text Jared about.
Right.
But I do text those guys, but not every single day about every single sport for sure. All right. That's it. We've rambled for good Lord, an hour and 3 minutes.
By the way, did you think the Cardinals and the Reds game would be 0-0 in the top of the 7th inning?
No.
The Reds threw out a pitcher with a 6-point something ERA, and he shut him out through. And the Cardinals have been hitting the ball.
Yep.
And they left him in the game. Why didn't the stupid manager take him out after 6 innings? He's still pitching into the 7th inning.
Let's see hold on. I'm going to see how many pitches he's thrown. It can't be much. Cardinals have 3 hits. He's only thrown 83 pitches.
Okay.
So he's going another inning here at least, unless
I would have never
run on base.
Yeah, I would have never thought it would be 0-0 in the 7th inning.
No, and I would never thought that we're about in the show and it's going to be 7th inning stretch time.
That's right. They only played an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, sometimes soccer for Jared. That's true. He is pretty good at soccer, but I don't know anything about it. So I see that's where I can't add anything to the conversation.
When soccer gets going, it may be going. I don't know it, but I got a buddy over here, lives right beside me, is a soccer expert. He said, I will be your soccer guru if you start to need to be making bets on soccer.
I love it. He's from
Ireland.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
from Ireland.
So obviously he's huge.
But he came over here to play college soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, NBA. Listen, don't text me about the NBA. Or you know what? Women's college basketball. I'm a huge fan of after LSU, but men, forget it. I hate that too. Cardinals have
March
runners
Madness was a disaster.
Oh, it was, yeah.
It was
Cardinals have runners on at first and second with one out here, Papa dude. So
all right, somebody needs to jack one.
All right. Well, listen, I've got my eye on it. I've got both one eye on it and one eye on you. Talk about questions in the show. You said you're going to research some. Do you have some?
What's that now? Questions?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I've got some.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to think hard on this one.
Okay. All right.
What is your favorite thing about your hometown?
Favorite thing about my hometown? Oh, I don't have to think that hard.
Okay.
The food. And this is the oddest thing, and Jared's listening, so he can comment on this too. So because we're both from Aurora, Missouri. That's our hometown. You still live there, at least for now, and you're from there as well. The one thing and that Heather and I miss the most is the food. Aurora, Missouri has great.
They got some neat restaurants. Yes,
they do. They really, really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the food for me.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what I like about it.
To explain, they've got a very good. Well, now we did lose one restaurant. There used to be a restaurant named Bootleggers that was really good. There's a restaurant named the Blackbird, and it is still there. It's good. There is the best pizza buffet I've ever had.
Great
and
pizza.
The best sandwiches I've ever had from this pizza place. Your pizza place, really good. And Hogtied Barbecue, which is fantastic as well. I just listed them off. Those any of those places you can't go well. Not Bootleggers, but
that pizza place is really good, and the people in there are friendly.
Yep.
Yeah. I like the smallness of it. You know, the fact that you can get from some place to 2 miles away, it takes you like 5 minutes. And no, Jared, I don't like the smell in Aurora. No. I don't know. It used to be, I felt like it's not that much, but it's not that much anywhere anymore. You just felt safe in Aurora. I never felt like I was in any danger.
Yep.
I still really don't. You know, this is a place where you can go walk down the street at night in dark. You don't get scared much. And it's just small town living is what it was. And
as Jared said, the bar isn't set too high for anything else there.
No, it's gone down. It used to be a great place to live, but it's changed.
The food would be about the only thing I quote unquote miss. I'm trying to think if anything else would pop up top of my mind. Not really. No. Nope. That's
it. I can't really either. Yeah. Okay. Now this is going to be a fun one. Okay. Now we know OU's our favorite college football team.
Yeah.
Can you name another one that you like?
Another team that I like?
Yeah. Hard time with this. Yes, Shotty, we do have a nice park.
Yeah. No, there's a couple of parks actually in Aurora that are pretty nice.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. College football team that I like.
See, that's tough.
That's not OU.
Yeah, because we like everybody.
Anymore.
When you're a huge fan of a team that competes, nationally, like they usually do, you don't like anybody. They're all the enemy.
It can't be your team. So if USC is your team, it's got to be somebody else.
You can't pick your team.
Right. So Shotty couldn't pick, or Jared couldn't pick Arkansas. We can't pick OU. Who's a team we watch that we like?
Well, I you know what mine is.
No.
Iowa.
Oh yeah, I do.
I like the Hawkeyes because they're no threat.
I knew that answer. No, I don't like anybody.
You used to like Florida.
I did used to like Florida. Yeah, but I don't anymore.
Not anymore because Spurrier's not there.
Yeah.
But
No, I don't.
okay,
I
this one
can't
will be
really
tough
say I
too.
sit down and it's like, hey, I'm going to root for X. No. Mm-mm.
I know. Hockey. Can't pick the Blues.
I do like the Panthers a lot.
Did you though before this run?
I liked them last year. I started to like them. And a lot of my family members are gonna go nuts over this one. I really like the Avalanche.
Yeah, I never really have liked them very well.
I like them.
I'm trying. I right now, and it's not usually this way. I really like the Oilers because they're fun to watch,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I,
I do like to watch the Hurricanes.
eh.
But I don't care if I miss the games. I don't really have another one, really, to be honest.
Colorado and Florida. I like Tampa. I liked watching them.
Oh, I forgot about them. Yeah, that's my. But they're slipping.
I hate to say this. I've always kind of liked to watch the Rangers. I don't know,
Oh,
Madison
I
Square
like that.
Garden,
Yeah,
that uniform. I kind of like it.
I do like the uniform.
I'm a
Just,
bigger fan of the league. Well, that's not true because I love college football too. So that's not true. I don't know
no.
why I like because
But
I'm
the
passionate about
reason
the
you
Blues, but I
hate
like those NHL
the
teams.
reason if people go, do you like USC? Do you like Penn State? Do you like Michigan? And I go, no. I hate every one of them because they're a threat to us.
Yeah.
So I hate them. I ain't rooting for them because they may beat us, So,
Oh no. So Michael, hold
NFL
on. Michael
teams,
Austin lost his car. Or didn't lose it. It got stolen. They did find it, but it
but
is
it got
totaled.
totaled.
Oh, sorry, Michael.
Well, you got insurance, you'll be okay.
Well, that's true, but still, that's hard to take.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
All right.
Hopefully, it's insured.
Yep. Anything
I don't have a favorite NFL team. I used to like the Broncos, but they've been so bad lately.
I have learned.
Oh, I
in
do like
NFL,
the Patriots. I hate to admit it, but I do.
I like every team. I like to watch all of them.
No, come on.
I do know. I love to watch NFL football.
Oh, I hate some of those teams.
Now, I root for the teams that I've bet in the game, but I could root for anybody.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I hate the Packers.
Yeah.
I've
Well,
never liked them.
I'll still watch them though.
I
Those
didn't say I
Thursday
wouldn't
night games
watch
were
them, but I don't like them.
Those Thursday night games that were so bad, I watched every second of it.
Yeah, not me.
I don't know. I think it's because I finally got the red zone and I know all the players and watch all the games. I love it.
Yeah.
Jared said he used to love Moss and the Vikings.
Randy Moss was fun to watch.
Yeah, those Viking teams were fun. They were good.
See, Jared, you're not gonna like this, but I was a huge John Elway fan for the Broncos. And I loved to watch him play. And I was a Denver fan.
Yeah.
And not so much anymore. But
when
he was playing, I really liked him.
We used to watch Denver and root for Denver a lot because of one guy, Rod Smith.
Yeah, Rod Smith was from Missouri Southern where we went to school. Yeah, that was another one, sure.
Yep.
And I liked the 49ers back when Joe Montana played.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I loved the 49ers.
They were fun to watch.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, that Vikings.
Another team, I'm not going to say I really like them, but I like to watch Dallas because it's Dallas. They're interesting.
Dallas is interesting. They're polarizing. It's always some dramatic and it's kind of funny. Whatever happens to him is pretty hilarious. So yeah, I watch Dallas. I watch them all. So
and
did that Vikings team with Randy Moss go like 15-1?
I've kind of liked the Vikings over the years.
Yeah,
I have. The reason back in the day, Jared, when the Cardinals had a football team in St. Louis, a lot of families either rooted for St. Louis teams or Kansas City teams.
Yeah.
And my family were St. Louis fans. We didn't care anything about the Royals. And just didn't like the Chiefs because we were Cardinals. We liked Cardinal football. We liked Cardinal baseball, obviously. Yeah. And so that's, I just never was a Chiefs fan. But I tell you, they're pretty darn fun to watch.
Yeah. Chiefs are the best team to watch, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. They're phenomenal.
Let me ask you one. So St. Louis loses the Cardinals.
Yeah.
They lose the Rams. All of a sudden, they get this Battlehawks XFL team, and more people are going to that than went to when the Rams were there. Why can't
Makes
they
no
keep a
sense.
football team?
I don't know.
And why, when they got the Rams, were they not just nuts about them?
Well, they had that 2-year span when they were really good, 2 or 3.
Right, but that's easy.
Other
to
than
be
that,
nuts
they were
about 'em
terrible.
then.
They were really bad, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's easy when they're good, but I'm saying they totally just quit them.
I don't know. St. Louis is a funny town. Now, they supported the Cardinals when the Cardinals were there, but they never were very good. But they supported them, and then they ditched them. You know, they didn't leave town because they weren't making money. I don't think they didn't have their own stadium. Now, they may have wanted their own stadium. That could have been why they left. I can't remember, but the Cardinals were very well supported in St. Louis. The Rams never caught on much because I think they came from LA. Maybe I never was a big Rams fan. Of course, I was when they started winning, but I wouldn't have gone to a game, I don't think. And I don't know. St. Louis is a funny town. They will not support a basketball team. You know, that's a big enough city. They should have an NBA team.
If Oklahoma City can support one, St. Louis can support one, but they won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had one back in the 50s, and they were very good. Early 50s, early 60s, they moved to Atlanta. And because, you know, I'm going to say it like it was a racist city.
Yeah.
And when blacks started playing in the NBA, that was it.
Yep.
And they quit supporting them, and they left. So anyway.
A couple questions from Jared here. He said his dad was a Cardinals fan and a Chiefs fan. So was that normal? Is that abnormal during that time?
It could have been. It could have been. Yeah. I'm just saying
your family chose St. Louis.
My family never went to Kansas City ever.
Okay.
We went to St. Louis all the time.
Huh.
And we never went to Kansas City. I, to this day, don't know my way around Kansas City very well.
Huh.
I just don't. They just didn't go there. They went to St. Louis. So I don't know why.
What do you think about this? I've heard about it. What do you guys think about Mahomes trying to get the NHL to Kansas City? How would you feel about the NHL coming to Kansas City?
It's been there once, and it did not work. They've had NBA there, and it did not work. I wouldn't care. I think it's big enough to support it. I don't know if Missouri can support 2 hockey teams. I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that.
So
I doubt if there's a lot of Blues fans in Kansas City, though. Right. I doubt that. I don't know.
Local hockey in St. Louis is fantastic.
It's huge.
It has become a monster. Some of the best players in the NHL are coming out of St. Louis.
Yeah.
So hockey is a huge deal in St. Louis. Kansas City, not so much. So that'd be the big
city. I think here would be an issue. And Jared, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Kansas City is a huge soccer town. I think they're huge in soccer because they have a soccer team.
Yep.
So I don't know whether I don't know if they have ice rinks in Kansas City. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about the local hockey scene in Kansas City at all.
No, I don't either.
No.
But every rink in St. Louis is busy from 5 a.m. to midnight with youth hockey teams.
St. Louis is a huge, huge hockey city. But yeah, he's saying Kansas City huge on soccer. So
I think so. So I think that would be an issue.
So the Coyotes are most likely moving, and that would be an interesting destination. I don't know that it'll happen, but I wouldn't be against it. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, Kansas City, they supported the Royals when they were really good. So I guess they support them okay. Of course, they're rabid about the Chiefs and always have. It doesn't matter if the Chiefs are good or not. They do follow them. Obviously, they're more crazy about them now with good reason. And I don't know how that soccer team draws. I don't know. But that's an interesting, the Coyotes, they need to go somewhere.
Isn't it? Yeah, they do.
It's logical. With Mahomes backing it, I think that would be a great advantage for Kansas City. And it didn't go over at all I think they were called the Scouts, I think.
They were. Yep.
And didn't they go to Colorado and didn't make it there either? And then the Avalanche came in from Quebec.
Yeah, Avalanche came from Quebec. I don't know where the Scouts went after.
I thought they went there and it didn't work there. I really don't know.
Well, you look at the Seattle Seals used to be a thing too, and they left, and now you've got the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah.
And it's working great.
Yeah. And when they had the basketball team, they played a lot of their games in Omaha.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they were called Kansas City Omaha. They were the Kings, and then they went to Sacramento.
Right.
And they had some pretty good teams. I don't know how they drew up there. But, I think I just don't – I guess obviously Kansas City is big enough to support hockey. I just don't know how long it would take them to get interested in it. However, I doubt if there were very many hockey fans in Miami, and I doubt if there were very many hockey people in Tampa Bay and Dallas. And by the way, in Dallas, that is hockey crazy down there.
Yep.
They've got youth leagues all over the place in Dallas, Texas. So if you got a product that's decent and people start going to the games, it's all it takes. You got to win.
Yeah.
Boy,
so Dave says Indianapolis would be good for a team, and I don't know what the hockey passion is like, but that'd be a good location for a team. I think Quebec would make sense as well.
You're probably right. I'm trying to think if there's any other U.S. city that would be ready to have one. I can't really. Most of them have. Houston, maybe.
Sporting KC average 18,000 fans a game. Stadium holds 18,467. So
that's
basically sell out
right.
a game. Yeah.
Now, with that stadium, do they play at the Sprint Center or whatever it's called?
Well, they'd have to play outdoors.
No, it's indoor soccer, isn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I thought it was indoor.
No.
Oh. They've got their own stadium? I didn't think so.
Have you ever been to an Arkansas Naturals game?
No.
You've never been to the Naturals?
Yeah. No, I've been to one here in Springfield.
Okay.
Same thing. It's pretty cool.
Hey, Steve says people in India are nuts for hockey. Well, that would be a good spot then.
Well, I mean, Indy's got football that they do real well with, and they've got, I guess they support the basketball pretty well. So,
and to be fair, I mean, I don't know. People in Kansas City might like it too.
Okay, so that they play in Overland Park.
Overland Park. By the way, you talk about cities and sports, blah blah blah. How about what's happened in Vegas? So they had no pro teams. They get the Knights. They go ape shit over the Knights. They're huge. The Golden Knights are huge, but you see it everywhere when you go.
Yeah.
Now they've got the Raiders, and they're probably going to get the Oakland A's by the time this thing's over. They're going to be a 3 major sports city. That's pretty awesome.
It's phenomenal.
And I'm telling you, it has added so much to that place, in my opinion, for a sports fan. It's cool. Yeah. It's really cool to see it. So
yeah, it is.
Yep.
And it is an amazing thing.
Yep.
And everybody knew it would work.
Yep.
They just had to get it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But you know what's happened at Oklahoma City is pretty amazing.
Yes.
A lot of people thought when they went through this transition, they would lose fans. And of course, attendance was down, but they held together pretty good. They had decent crowds. And
yep.
Of course, it's the only game in town, but that's not a basketball hotbed for sure.
No, but
I think they would support a hockey team. I really do.
I don't know.
Yeah, they have minor league hockey. It's pretty big. So.
Yeah, that's true. They do have that.
So it'll be interesting to see where Phoenix goes. That's a very good question. I think Kansas City, they probably would get into it. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
If you've never been to a hockey game, big time hockey game, you better go because you're going to love it if you're a sports fan.
Yep, I agree.
I never thought we'd see Dallas, Texas, like they are with hockey.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, look at Florida last night. That was nuts in there last night. In Miami, they're not passionate about anything.
They like hockey.
They do follow the Heat pretty well, but baseball, no. So
All right. No, I know. The Cardinals have scored, Papa Dude.
All right.
The Cardinals have scored. They lead 1-0 in the top of the 8th. Rodney, real quick, then we're going to get out of here. He asked about Arabian Night. He's definitely not under the care of Tim Yakteen, but I don't know that he's in Bafford's barn either. I think he's on the farm.
Okay.
No works from him in many months. So I would not be looking for him to come back anytime soon. I don't know anything for sure, but I would say he had some serious problems that they're trying to work out. So, Shotty, is he in the barn though? Because he hasn't had a work in months. So I do know he went back to Baffert. Oh, he did gallop yesterday. All right. Well, you're looking at about 2-3 months then. Yeah. He'll start in a couple months. If
he would be running if he was healthy.
Yeah. Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is he's going to need 4 to 6 workouts before they get him back. So onto to a race. So we shall see. All right. Any final thoughts?
Nope. I think we did a good job.
Yeah, I think we went long enough. Final update: Cards up 1-0. Runners at the corners, and your Rays are up 5-1 over the Jays. So good things happening for you.
Cards need 2 or 3 more to be safe.
They do have them at the corners. So
how many outs?
There's 2 outs.
No, now it's bases loaded. Now,
yeah, I just walked the bases loaded. So bases loaded, 2 outs. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. We're going to get out of here. We'll be back for Magic Mike's coming up soon. Blinkers off coming up today as well. So a lot going on the channel. All right, guys. We will see you on the show next week. Thanks, everybody.
This is Due to Bet Sports. Due to Bet Sports. It's your favorite show. Due to Bet Sports, where degenerates go. Due to Bet Sports. Time to change your approach with Aaron Holderman and his father, the coach. Let's ride.
Well, the Associated Press is full of shit.